Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to input data through an HTML form. And how to insert the input data into MySQL DB or table, how to retrieve that data, and how to display the retrieved data. Okay, before we start all this, we need to have a database in our MySQL DB or any other database you have, and we need to have tables there. Now in this example I'm using a database named vehicles and table named cars, while the fields in the table cars are company, model, year, color and engine. Okay, now there are 3 steps to insert data into a table using PHP. The first one is you need to have connection to the DB. Now when you create the connection, you have these 4 variables that you need to pass. The first one is your server name. For us at the moment it would be localhost. Username is root. Password, we don't have any password, while the DB name is the database name is vehicle. Okay, now the next thing, the form that we create using the input type. Now here we have the input type as text. Let's say we are trying to get the name of the company, right? Now this text box, we need to declare this attribute here, name, and the value should be unique for every text field or any other field that you are using there, right? Here for us it's company name. ID, it is there, but we are not going to use this one for now, right? So this is the main and important variable or value that we have. Okay, now what happens when we create this value here, how to get this data from the text box. So here we have, this is what we do, this is our variable or declaring variable in PHP. All our variables starts with the $sign. So here we say request company name. It means whatever is inside company name text box should be moved to this variable company, and then we do this for all the different values or names that we have defined in our form. Okay, then we are going to use a normal creating the insert statement and running. This is the query that we are, this is the function that we are going to use to insert the values. Insert into table name cars, and then here we have default is used for the primary key, so that the primary key that we are using there is auto increment. So here that's why we put default. Then we have the variable company, we have the variable model, year, color, engine, right? So all these values will be passed to our table. So let us see how this works in our form. Okay, the first thing that we have here is the form input. This is a PHP file, but we have our HTML and PHP. In this file we only have HTML. This is an HTML form, you can see here, right? Now the important thing here to remember is this part. Here we have form action, which is equal to insert form data dot PHP. It means once we click the submit button here, this data needs to go to this file, the PHP file, and this file is going to be responsible for transferring this data to the database. And the method is post. We can have the get also, but we are going to use only the post method here. Now here we have a regular form. We have label, we have input type text, name is company name. This is important, right? Similarly we have for all the other fields, and all the fields are at the moment only text fields. Then we have the button here. Now to create this form, I'm using this small CSS file here, which is this one. You can see here I have defined div input type text center button. Okay, let us first have a look at this form input dot PHP. So here we can type the different values. And then we can click the submit button. Now before I click this submit button, let us go and have a look at the other file, which is insert form data, the name that we have mentioned here in the action. Once the submit is clicked, this is the file that is going to run. Now this is again a PHP file. We are starting with the HTML tag, but we have our PHP here. Now the first part here, like I said, we need to create a connection. So this is our connection variable, and this is the function that we are going to use for the connection. We have our local host, root, there is no password, and the database name is vehicles. Now we need to check if this connection is, these are all different checks that you can put here to check if the connection is a success or not. Like here it says could not connect. If it is false, the connection is false. Now here it says taking all 5 values from the form data, the input data, this form that we created, picking all the values from here. So we need to mention the name here, means the name attribute that we used here, this one. You can see here all these are different variables and they all need to be different. 2 of these should not be same because these are variables that we are going to use here. So like this, what we did, after submit button is clicked, it comes here and picks all the values from those text boxes and moves them to these variables. These are the variables that we are going to use in this file to insert data into the table. We have our insert statement here, insert into cars, values, and all these values are, we have put all these in a single quote. So it's going to take the values from there. So once you have created this string, you can come and use this MySql query with the connection and the SQL string to run that statement. Once this statement is run, we will have here true or false, meaning the query has been run successfully, right? The insert statement has been run successfully. So this is what we are going to check here. If this is true, it means it was a success. Then we can just display this data stored in database successfully. Please browse your localhost. Okay. Now here I have used this function header. This is immediately going to take us to the form input field again. Means it's going to bring us back to this place. It's not going to display anything. Immediately we will see that this form is again displayed even after the submit button. Like here, if I click submit, okay, we got this error because our MySql is not running. So we need to start our MySql server also. Okay, it started now. Here we have our data once again. So I'm going to click the submit button again, and you can see it's empty. It means all the things have been transferred to the table. So we are going to check these values now. Okay, the next one is get data from DB. It means now we are going to retrieve the data from the table, right? Once again, we have similar things. We have the server name, username, password, and DB name, and we are using all these variables here. So you can hard code this one here, or you can simply use the variables. Here the connection is created if this is a success, right? Okay, here we have SQL is equal to select static from cars. It means select all from cars, all the fields, right? And the result will be in this variable result, right? This is string here, and I'm using this string with the connection query. Now here, if the result means if we have the number of rows is more than 0, right, then we are going to get all the data from the table by using this fetch all method, right? And whatever the result comes will be in our variable row. Now this part is our PHP part, right? We have our values in the variable row. It means all the data is in our variable row. Now we come back here. Now here we are going to create a small table and display the data inside the table. So you can see here we have table here. This is the head, right? Company, model, year, color, and engine. Then we have the PHP part. This is our PHP part. The first PHP part is this one. Here we are going to say if the row is not empty, then we have the for each loop here, and our values are going to traverse through the row, and each value will be inside our variable rows, right? So here we have the table this is a table row, one row, right? And this row is inside a for loop, so it means we are going to have more than one row, and inside this row the data that we have is exactly the same as the header. And this is how you can get the data by these ones are the name of our columns in the table, the field names, the correct field names, okay, because here our field names are different, the one that we created in the previous example. So like this, all these will be displayed one by one in each column of the row. Now let us run this one and see what it does. Here you can see all the data is displayed from the table, right? And this was the last one that we entered, right? So let us just enter one more here. Let's say and now we will click submit. Now we come back to our get data here, and now we are going to refresh this page to check if we have the last one. You can see here we have our last record here. So this is how you can insert data through an HTML form and retrieve the data from the table and display it.